When we looked at Bombadil, we knew that this whole boat was going to need a full refit. The hull was solid, the spars and the standing rigging were also solid, but everything in between and around them was just a big question mark. A major point of concern was the steel beam located in the bilge that supports the mast. We knew that it was rusting and in dire need of replacement, and back in Season 1 we also replaced the thwartship beams that had rusted down to a knife's edge at the bottom. This winter's main objective was to get the mast step replaced as well.
So here is our mast step. So this part goes up inside the mast. This is a I-beam. When we pulled the mast, I started looking and there's some tape, and so there's a silver dollar and a quarter, both in the mast step from 1974. I'm guessing that was the first time the boat was commissioned. When they put the mast on, they taped those in underneath. I removed the pieces I've cut out previously and then just screwed back in place. So now I need to make a cut here, and then you can kind of see that black line there, and then here. That way I can remove this entire piece over top of the mast step, so I can cut the fiberglass tabbing off of the mast step, and then pull the lag bolts that are there. It shouldn't take too long. It's just going to be a messy process. I've set the circular saw so it just cuts through with maybe an extra 1/8 inch through the floor. That way it doesn't cut anything else. So now I'm going to suit up in a Tyvek suit, because I really don't like being itchy. So we'll also be running a vacuum trying to minimize the dust created.
As you can see, we had to remove a decent portion of the floor to properly access the mast step. It was a big risk to start cutting into the floor because at this point it was already late fall in Michigan and the cold weather really puts a halt to fiberglass work. Now, we could have stored Bombadil inside the amazing heated buildings here at the shipyard, but looking at the finances, we decided to put those funds into boat parts. Besides, even with dust collection, with all the cutting, grinding, and sanding to be done, it would not have been very neighborly to those around us. This project has definitely been the most intimidating. Out of all of the projects that we've done, this one was the most untested. Having a 50-year-old boat means that usually if you're working on a structural project, like when we extended our rudder, someone else has already done a similar project, and with a little sleuthing on blogs, articles, and if you're lucky, some YouTube videos, you'll find all of the information that you need, or at least most of the information that you need. With this project, we really didn't find that much. Fortunately, this is one of the many times that Philip's background and education in mechanical engineering has really saved the day. Not only was he able to design the new mast step in CAD, he was also able to test the compression capabilities of the assembled G10 pieces. And here's a screenshot with some of the numbers when about 35,000 pounds of pressure was applied directly to the mast step.
That's kind of nasty. There's a lot of erosion. So this is the bottom edge of the plywood. You can see that it's all like just coming apart. Nice plywood back in the day. And then this is like mostly fiberglass iron still. So just slowly working on trying to clean up the mess and what's around so I can see what I'm working on. Oh, that's stuck. So this I-beam there's fiberglass that goes over top of it. So I'm gonna make a cut around the whole base of it, so that way I can peel this fiberglass off the steel. And then from what I've read, it sounds like there's a couple of leg bolts in here. We'll see. Oh my, freaking weird. Oh, that's sketchier than I thought. There's no bolts. This whole thing was just like epoxied and fiberglass down. Wild. So everywhere I read online said that this was bolted in and glassed. I didn't find any bolts, and there are none. Just a bunch of steel, just held in by weight and some fiberglass tabbing. It does make me feel a little concerned. Oh, there's some inconsistencies apparently, but you can see like it's worn down pretty good. I don't think this is even an I-beam. I have a I-beam type cross-sectional piece in my boat, and it looks something like that, with an upper plate with a hole drilled in it, and the mast step sits on it. Cross-sectional thickness is about 3/16 of the steel. So I am building a new section out of G10. I'm using 5/8 thick material for the upper plate that it's going to get bolted to, the verticals, and then I'm using 1/2 inch for the lower plate. So this would be, this like section would be what's currently there. I am planning on modifying it slightly and doing like this. So where this is slightly offset, it's a box shape. This sits on top, and then glass all around everything. Gives a little bit more cross-sectional area for some compression. Also gives it a little bit more shear strength from side to side, because the boat, this will be the bow to stern axis of the boat. This is a piece of G10, 5/8 thick. This is a Sawzall. I get to cut this in half. It's gonna suck. The camera's probably gonna fall on the ground. And I'll show you all the other cuts I've made. I knew it was kind of misery. But first I gotta cut this piece.
Now, if you've not used G10 before, and if you're not familiar with this specific type of material, what you might not realize is it has very similar properties to steel, and as you can see, it cuts about as well. Anyway, you get the point. It's a pain in the rear end, but it is an amazing product, and we've used it multiple times so far throughout the boat.
Piece of 5/8 thick G10. Just essentially a whole bunch of layers of fiberglass cured. Alright, so tonight I'm mixing up epoxy, gonna make it thickened epoxy, and so it's a glue, and I'm gonna glue everything to the base plate, and that'll allow me to come back through and grind and level all the different pieces because they're not perfect. So I have a nice even seat between the tops of these and the top plate, which is over there. So then I can glue that on. I'll probably glue that on with clamps, the top, and then I can fiberglass all of it, and that should give me the stiffness I need. In theory, just gluing it according to the FEA model I did should have enough strength. I'm just worried about torsion and twisting and weird side loads, so we'll fiberglass it. And yes, I actually did math. Well, the computer did math to validate that it should take the load. My stays are 8 mil, well the back stay is 8 mil, and so I ran like 1.5 times the breaking strength of the wire as the compression load on the mast step. Figured that should be adequate for the compression load. And then I did put a decent amount of side load onto the model to make sure that it wouldn't like fall over or twist, and everything seemed to have held up well under the FEA. The update on the mast step this morning. So I spent a bunch of time cutting 1708 glass. So I have stuff laid out for the first layer, which is going to be probably the thinnest. And then I'm going to step up to a little bit larger, and then the final layers are these big pieces back here. The goal is that every single seam has 3 layers of 1708 on it. Yeah, it should give it a good strength. Should be adequate. I don't know. I always second guess myself in these things. So yeah, I'm going to mix up some thickened epoxy. We're going to apply it to the top of this. We'll put the top plate on, clamp it all. I'll retouch up the fillets and probably maybe some of these faces so they're wet, so the glass sticks a little bit better. Then we'll lay all the glass. I forgot to cut peel ply, but I'll cut peel ply to put over top just to make sure everything is kind of nice. So this morning I got here and I forgot to film. So first off, I scrubbed the bilge down to this entire section. You can kind of see up here where the line where I stopped scrubbing is. And I scrubbed that so I didn't have to sand it all, and I wasn't sure how dirty it was. Turns out it's really dirty. We're gonna have to scrub the rest of the bilge as we start uncovering it. And we'll have to work up under there a little bit better too. So I scrubbed it, and then I sanded a perimeter around the mast step where I'm going to be applying new fiberglass. So yesterday we used thickened epoxy, glued the mast step to the keel. Shouldn't ever move, but we're going to add some fiberglass support to it as well. A little bit of peace of mind, and I'll also I don't know if the camera will even pick this up, but right here, there's a little bit of a divot. So we'll fill that with the thickened epoxy, and it will be one less spot for water or dirt to collect. So I have all my pieces of glass cut. I just need to cut the peel ply that's going to cover everything. That way we have a nice smooth surface for painting. So this is the new mast step in the correct location. And I've realigned the actual mast mating step in the correct spot, just to see how it all is going to fit. So we'll have to drill a hole right here for the wires that run up the mast. So we're going to bed this whole piece in thickened epoxy. So I've kind of done a rough outline. And then we have a laser level up here, which will get us our height that we need to hit. Yeah, we're pretty close. So here's the mast step. After I glassed on, not glassed on, but I glassed to the keel stub and to the mast step on the back. And then you can see there's the sides and all around the front. So on the front of the mast step up here, you can kind of see there's an outline. This was the old steel plate got bolted to the keel stub right here. And this had some ridges and a low spot, and so I filled this in and glassed it so there's less chance of collecting dirt, water, debris, other stuff in up here. Might need a little bit of filler work in between. I left the peel ply on right now, as I will have to add some more glass as I replace the cabin sole. So I'm gonna have to add a member right here. So having peel ply on this just keeps it from getting dirty, and then I don't have to sand. And if anyone's worked with fiberglass, I know that's the worst part, is the sanding. The mast step, you can see the outline for the actual piece that gets held in. Well, holds the mast in place. So I was waiting for bolts to show up so I can drill and bolt it down. So that'll be part of tonight's project, is to bolt the mast step onto the mast step. I don't know if there's a technical term for each piece. If you know, let me know. So currently I have drilled pilot holes in the center of all the holes I've marked. Now I'm going to just slowly step them up till I'm to the right size. These front ones ended up falling on top of the support that's under here. So these ones I will actually drill and tap. G10 is tough enough that you can actually tap it. These back ones will be through bolted, and I'm thinking I might add another one up here just to help stabilize it, as I know that it's mostly under compression, but I'm still a little leery of tapping fiberglass. So well, I now have the mast step bolted in. You can see the 4 new bright stainless bolts in there. These two are through bolted, and I tapped into the G10, and I was actually able to torque them down, and it held. So let's see, I think these were 18 long. So yeah, it's about 2 times the diameter of the bolt that's engaged in the threads, or 1.5, and so good thread engagement. But yeah, it's holding, so that's exciting news. And then I have these two through bolted. Mast is Mast step. This piece is back in the right spot. I traced it out the other day, and it's fully inside that line. So I used a laser level and some strings to make sure it was all. It came out and went back into the same spot, fore aft and port starboard. Height, I think we're down. I think I ended up like a 16th low, which is okay. I was okay with that because I can always tighten the rigging a little bit. So yeah, overall I think it turned out really nice. That I can mark a project off my list, which is really exciting.